Alrighty, hello, what's up, you guys? Is Laringe here. I decided to do. Sorry. I decided to do my own Bronze to Master series. So we're in the middle of it here, but I wanted to just give you guys an idea of how to set up your hotkeys. We are currently plat, I wanted to show you guys how to set up your hotkeys. And just kind of give you an idea of how I do mine. Hotkeys are completely up to you. How you have it configured is up to you. There's not necessarily a better way to do it. Fairly recently, I think it was Hydra, said he still uses the legacy hotkeys, which are the old Brood War ones, where you had like OP for pylon, stuff like that. So the first... I'll go over all these settings. Graphics, obviously, it's up to you. Sound, up to you. I play without sound usually. Voice chat doesn't even matter. You'll want to use your built-in mouse sensitivity. That's generally a pretty good rule of thumb. The cursor side, I don't think matters too much. I did see someone play with a really large cursor, and you'll want all these values at 50%. That's generally a pretty good spot for them. You can lower them or raise them as you please, though. The rest of the settings don't really matter. You do want mouse drag. I believe that's hitting the middle mouse. Oh no, by placing the cursor. Yeah, so that's you have to have that. That's when you move with like moving your mouse over there. Okay, so let's see the void expansion. So the settings show alerts. That's the alerts that go on the side here. You want those disabled because you might accidentally click on them. Display grade is kind of up to you. Grid, not grade. That's up to you. I play with it. It's generally a pretty good idea to play with it. Always show worker status. This is a good one. This is when it shows the numbers over your like command center and stuff. If you have it set to always show them, which is I think the default, it'll always have that number. Otherwise you have to put your cursor over it, so you should probably always have it showing. Showing current order indicator, this is useful, it's not that important. Select all larva, you should have this selected. This is good. Enable enemy unit selection, you have to have this one, otherwise you can't check the upgrade status. Display experience points, this one is up to you. It's kind of useful, like if you aren't sure if you got a medevac or something, it leaves a little bit of residue, so it gives you a little bit more time. Allow windows restore, that one's up to you. It depends on if you alt tab a lot. Colorblind mode, once again up to you. Display team colors life bar, I don't like that, up to you. This is up to you. You should have this on damaged or let's see, damaged or always. So what this does is this shows their life, and you should have this always up, so you always know where their up is. Control groups, you should either have it normal, hidden, or unclickable. You should probably do unclickable. You don't want to get in the habit of clicking on them. Flyer helper, this one I'm not sure about. You might want to have it on always, or I don't know if it works on enemy targets, but I do know you get the flyer helper when you put your cursor over them for like a neural parasite or something. So it's probably fine just to leave it unselected. Social, if you're really hardcore, you'll set status to busy when playing. But that's up to you. Language and region, whatever. Set it to wherever you're from. Preferred gaming. That's interesting. I didn't know that existed. Replay, overlay, same thing, up to you. Alright, so we're going to create a custom profile. We're going to base it off grid. I use grid. I recommend using grid if you're just starting and if you plan on playing more than one race. There are a few settings we do need to change within the grid layout. This is all fine, but in the global settings, some of the camera hotkeys. So a lot of people use camera hotkeys to find their bases. I don't. So you can set those up, but you do need to change the base camera to spacebar. Then just hit OK. Go back to hotkeys, unit management, jump to last alert. That used to be spacebar. You can either set that to backspace, or you can just leave it like undone. So I leave it on undone. Select army as F2. This is what I refer to as the dirty key. Let's unbind that. So you can still click on it if you really need to, but you don't have to. This is for rapid fire. What's the word? Rapid fire like shots. So if you want to do really fast infestators or infestation, whatever, you just hold down Z and it shoots them all over the place, right? Because you have Z, which selects the ability, and then Z also selects the target. Then there's one more, idle workers. We're going to change that to tilde. And I think that's all of them. As far as hotkeys though. Alright, cool. I think we're set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into a unit tester. Let's find one here. And I'm going to show you guys how you should have your control group set up. Like I've said in the past, if we can find a unit tester. There we go. LOTV unit tester. Create game. So shoot, I just lost my train of thought. I know the last thing I said was like in the past. Now I can't remember. Okay. So my goal with this video is to start you out with good habits, so that you guys can learn with your good habits, right? So we want to develop a foundation and then work your way up. So I want to focus on that. So a lot of the times higher level players don't necessarily follow a certain build order. They just kind of have like goals in their mind, right? So I want to hit with Roach Ravager and then I want to go into Muta, right? So that's kind of the idea. I wonder if there is a bigger terrain layout. Field. Okay. Alright, so we are a Zerg player, so we're going to be this right side. Actually, we're going to be red. So let's start out with our basic Roach Hydra composition. You have Lurkers with it, because Lurkers are good units, and then I think that's about it, right? Roach Hydra Lurker. You actually don't usually use the Roaches, so I'm going to... Oh, that's not what I meant to do. Actually, let's add on some buildings here. So let's add on, you know, standard 3 hatch. 2, 3, right? 3 hatch, 3 queen. Hold up, I just totally forgot how I have all my stuff hotkeyed. Okay, now I remember. Oh shit, I started it. That's fine. Okay. Hit those injects here. Okay. So let's start here. So 8 and 9, right? We have 8 as our hatches, and I might reverse this. I can't remember right now. I just do everything out of habit. Go and queue up some injects here. So we have 8 and 9. And if you need to, just set those to 5 and 6, because I use an extra mouse button on my mouse. I have like the Rival Gaming Series. I have 2 mice, or 2 buttons on my mouse, 2 extra. So you can set it to 5 and 6, and then go back to like do it how you normally would. But that's how I do it because I have access to that hardware. So let's build some units here. We got some Zerglings, right? Go ahead and add on some drones and get some tech here. Get a Mutaden just for upgrades. Okay. And the only thing I'm missing is the Hydra Den, I believe. Go ahead and drop a spine. Alright. So let's look at our control groups here. Let's look at what we've got going, right? So we have our Zerglings in control group 1. So pretty standard. Zerglings in control group 1. Then, if we were to hypothetically add some Banelings, we'd put them in control group 2. Now, The only time I ever have my banelings in a separate control group from my zerglings is in Ling Bane Micro. So if you're playing versus Terran, put them in the same control group. This is for versus Terran, and then you have your mutas in the second control group. Wow, this is actually kind of hard to do because of the way, like I can't like grab them when they're eggs, because that's what you'd normally do. Alright, so we have our mutas here. Let's go ahead and add them to the control group. I'm going to set a rally point real quick. Right, 1 2 1 2 1 2, right? And then you get like some sort of spellcaster or something. Add the infestors to control group 3, right? So this is kind of our generic control group setup, and then we add not inject queens, but creep spread queens to control group 4, right? So you're actually using 6 control groups. So the thing I would practice just early on is getting used to using all these control groups. So you get 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 inject, or creep spread I mean, and then right after you spread creep, you inject, right? So let's inject 1 2 3 1 2 3. With spacebar as your inject cycle, I can't actually do it here. You're probably better off selecting the queens than injecting like manually, like I am now. And then another thing to note, since we did set Z to be the equivalent to left clicking, you can hit X then Z over a hatchery, and it might be a little bit faster, right? Okay, so let's move our units a little bit. Let's get used to this, and then what I'll do is I'll kill off my units. Well, actually, I don't even have to kill them off. I just have to send them to a corner. All right, so we have this, right? So let's actually use Vipers instead. Third control group. We'll use some Roaches in our second control group, and then we'll use some Hydras in our first control group. We still have the mutas there. So we have Roach Hydra. We'll add on some lurkers here. Yeah, actually quite a few lurkers, more Hydras, and then some Ultras. So you'll notice I'm not using the second control group, and so when I don't have to use the second control group, I actually just move the third control group to the second, which is kind of weird, and it'll take a little bit to get used to. And it's totally fine just not to do it that way, just to have your 3 control groups. So we have our Ultra. That's actually a lot of Ultras. We have our Ultra Lurker. So a lot of people hotkey their lurkers separately. I don't. I just control click them or double click them or whatever. I actually got out of the habit of double clicking. I'm not sure if it's better that way, but that's just the way I do it, so whatever. Alright, so that's kind of how you want your control group set up. You select your units by control clicking. Another thing to do, do something like this before you even like start to go into combat, and that way your Hydras are already in the back. And then when you have, say, mutas in this second control group, so when you have all these units, the third control group should just auto follow your main one, right? Because they're just spellcasters. That's they're there for that. So you're out harassing, blah blah blah, harass, snipe that guy, snipe him. Oh, let's get another one. Let's move this control group. Snipe him. Oh, we have to adopt lightning cloud. Go back, right? So that's so the only reason you have that third control group is for easy, fast selection. So you do something like this, and then you back them up, and you keep fighting with these guys. We'll get our split going, you know, the standard. And you select these guys, move them up. So a lot of your micro is actually going to be unit boxing. The only reason you use control groups is to select all your armies at once, right? So kind of a weird way of doing it, but this is what works for me, and I'm a master Zerg. So okay, I think that's about it. I think we're pretty much set on what we want to what I wanted to say in this video. So yeah. Alright, so I wanted to plug 2 things at the end here really quick, and that has something to do with mouse. They're both in reference to mouse accuracy and increasing your speed. So there used to be a really good, it was like unit test thing, not a unit test. It was a practice map back in Wings of Liberty, I want to say. And it has you do some achievements and stuff. And unfortunately, I can't find it anymore. But if someone does bump into it, it's like I can't remember what it's called, but you had like 4 or 5 different objectives, and like you had a probe chasing a Zergling or a Zergling chasing a probe, and then you had a High Templar you had to get in your main base while killing the Terran's base. It was a pretty good map, and I can't remember what it's called. But that's good for multitasking practicing. A few of the weird things I do to help my game speed is one of them is to help injects. If you can like go to YouTube and just YouTube like timer with 30-second intervals. So every 30 seconds it beeps, and then so once that 30 seconds hits, you creep spread and inject, and that'll help a lot with your injects. With the new inject system, it might not be a bad idea to do it at like 25 seconds, but it's up to you completely. You don't have to use that if you don't want to. The second one, which is kind of weird, is it's to help with speed, and that's I listen, or when I was practicing to get faster, I'd listen to Chocolate Rain while I play, and it's kind of weird because like I hadn't heard it somewhere. It just kind of I bumped into it and it worked out pretty well. But Chocolate Rain has got a really fast beat, right? So I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a illegal preview here. Hopefully I don't get flagged. You guys hear that? So that's fast, right? Right? And so that's kind of what it did for me is I just spammed faster. And now I average about 300 APM. Kind of weird thing that I do, but it helped out quite a bit. And then the third thing, which is probably the weirdest, and this is to help with mouse accuracy. So initially I was like, ooh, I need to get good mouse accuracy, better play some first-person shooters, right? And that worked out all right. But the thing that I started doing, which is really weird, is when I'm watching movies on Netflix, I move my mouse to where people's eyes are. So just to give you guys an example, we're watching YouTube videos and stuff. So let me open up YouTube here and give me just a second. It's kind of a weird plug. There we go. Mom calls cops on guys doing parkour. So this isn't necessarily what I do. I do it with movies usually, like when I watch Lost, but just some of the weird stuff. So I play the video and I just try to get my cursor on top of their eyes, right? That's my goal. Okay? So something kind of weird. It works better with movies because the camera, like the camera stuff is better. But that's something you guys can try doing. That's what worked for me. And now, I've got pretty good accuracy. I can click where I want. Sometimes I do overshoot a little bit, but alright, so that's kind of what I wanted to plug. So once again, there's a really good practice map you can try, the mouse accuracy thing, and then listening to Chocolate Rain, and then the inject intervals. So those can all help.